game night isn't just about the rules. It's about how it feels to play. The weight of the pieces, the clarity on the table, the little upgrades that make everything click. The Board Game Geek store is built for players who want more from their games, offering premium upgrades like Geek Up Bits, smart accessories, and exclusive designs that enhance play, reduce friction, and make every session more satisfying. If you care about how your games look, feel, and play, visit BoardGameGeekStore.com and level up your table. Hello, and welcome to episode 86 of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Amanda Panda, and today I'm here with Daniel Newman from New Mill Industries.
How's it going?
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be doing this.
You are a designer and a publisher, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. Yeah, I've been designing games for, 10, 15 years at this point. A wide range of stuff. I started out doing Euros, and lately I've been focusing more on like trick-taking and climbing games. And then I started New Mill Industries in, I guess, technically 2020. It was a COVID baby. You know, we were cut off from conventions and stuff. Me and Tony Miller started the company as a way to kind of keep involved with the board game scene. And it started out we were doing our games that maybe we had pitched to publishers and we got good feedback, but it wasn't quite right for them. So we're like, well, maybe we could just do these ourselves, these small weird games, and figure out a way to do it kind of cost effectively. And then after that, I kind of got really into trick taking and pivoted away from kind of what we were doing previously. And Tony got really busy with work after kind of the COVID lockdowns lifted. And so he stepped away and I just kind of took the ball and rolled with it.
Now I understand why it's called New Mill Industries.
Yeah, Newman and Miller.
So is doing board games, publishing and designing your full-time job now?
I mean, it's the only thing I'm doing. It does not keep me full-time busy, unfortunately, and it doesn't make full-time money, but it is my primary occupation aside from going to the movies as often as I can.
Oh, okay. So what's the newest movie that you've watched and enjoyed?
So I saw 102 movies in the theater last year.
Wow.
Which was insane. Thank you, AMC A-List, for letting me make that not crazy expensive. Last movie that I saw that I really loved was No Other Choice, which is a Korean movie from Park, I think is the director. Yeah, 102 different movies in the theater. And that doesn't include the like half dozen that I saw twice, or the like 3 or 4 that I walked out of because I wasn't enjoying it. So I went to the movies a lot last year. Had a lot of time on my hands. Going to the movies was the biggest thing I missed during the COVID lockdowns. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it was safe to go to the movies again, I just started going like crazy. And then this year was ridiculous. But yeah, I just love going to the movies. There we are.
Back onto the topic of board games. Mm-hmm. How long have you been designing board games in the industry?
I want to say probably about 10 years. My first published design was Ahead in the Clouds with Button Shy Games. And that was after I had been at it for about a year or so.
That's 2017.
So it's been, about 10 years, which is pretty wild. My wife and I, so we had a kid in 2009. He was like 4 or 5, and we had played games together for a long time. But when you've got a toddler, it's hard to have the energy to do much other than sit in front of the TV together. We enjoy playing board games. Like, well, why don't we try designing something together? And we kind of made a list of the games that we really liked and mechanisms and things that we enjoyed. And we started to put together an idea, and we started working on it together. And then I found a playtesting group that was local to me, and I started going to that. And then she just kind of slid away from the project as I got more excited about it. And that game never really came to much. I wound up pitching it to a couple publishers, but it wasn't quite good enough. And then, I just kind of got obsessed. And that became my hobby from there. And we still play games together, just not as often.
And do you have a good regular gaming group, or do you mainly just go play test games?
I wish. There's a Discord that I'm on pretty regularly, run by another designer. And I play a lot of card games online there. And there's another Discord that's related. We do a Sunday afternoon, mostly trick-taking games and other card games. And all my play testing is online now too. So I rarely play with other people anymore. I've got a couple of friends who I meet up with maybe a couple of times a month to play some games. And then I'll go to like little buddy cons. There's 2 or 3 a year. Well, it's like very intense, like trick-taking game conventions over like 4 or 5 days. Most of my playing in person is done at those.
That's awesome.
I don't really have a local game group anymore.
I have a hard time playing a lot of trick-taking games because I want to just play one after the other. But then most of my friends are like, and after the second or third one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I should go to one of your cons and just play trick-taking games. There's so many out there.
Oh my God. It's ridiculous. And I'm going to drop some that you may not have ever heard of. So I'm excited about that.
That's great. I love that.
I am lucky that I found a couple of groups that just like to get together and play trick-taking games all day, every day for 4 or 5 days in a row. Like, that's just heaven. Because my wife also, like, I can get her to play a game. Maybe we'll play 3 or 4 hands of it. And then she's like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, you're done? What are you talking about? I've got all these other ones to play. What do you mean you're done? So finding other people with that excitement and enthusiasm to just sit and churn out some trick takers that's the dream.
A little sneak peek of the 5 game list that we have a little bit later on. So you are pretty active on Blue Sky. Do you have other social media that you're also active in?
That's really it. I mean, I'm kind of a lurker on Instagram, but I don't really post on Instagram. I mentioned that there are a couple of Discords that I'm really active in, but those are kind of like gated communities. Like they're kind of invite only. It's a little different than kind of more open access social media. I was really big on Twitter before Blue Sky and before Twitter became gross. And I'm still there mostly to keep in touch with the Japanese gaming scene. Because Japan hasn't really moved over to Blue Sky to keep up with all the Tokyo Game Market releases and stuff.
And
I need to stick with Japanese Twitter. Oh, yeah.
You brought some of them from like the Tokyo Game Market from Japanese publishers through New Mill, correct?
Yeah, totally. There's been a combination of printing new editions, publishing new editions of Japanese games that were originally at Tokyo Game Market. And then every time I go twice a year now, I'll bring back a bunch to sell to kind of share those games here for this market. So that's been super fun and super cool, and building those relationships with folks, because it tends to be the same designers and like publishing groups that I bring stuff back from. So they're getting used to me like reaching out like a couple weeks before Game Market. I was like, hey, can I get 30 copies of this? I'm like, yeah, sure. So that's been super fun. What I wind up doing is picking like 7 or 8 titles and bringing 30 copies of each back.
Okay.
And then I put them up on my website and I let folks know through my mailing list and on Blue Sky. But it's nuts how quickly they go. Like most of them are sold out within 2 minutes of me posting, sometimes within like 30 seconds of me posting. It's a bit of a feeding frenzy, like throwing chum in shark-infested waters. But it's great because then that basically pays for my trip to Japan.
Oh, nice.
So it's like 1 day of work running around the convention and buying stuff and loading up my suitcase and all of that. And then I get to go to Japan for 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my conventions that I have on my bucket list is the Tokyo Game Market.
Oh, yeah.
And it happens twice a year, is that correct?
Yep. Once usually in May and once in December. Although I think this next one is closer to Essen. It's going to be like late October. I have to double check this. The fall one. The next one is in May, in the spring. So yeah, that's been amazing, like life-changing to be able to go to Japan twice a year. Like I still pinch myself that I get to do that.
Is your Japanese good?
I speak a little bit. I've taken some lessons. I did Duolingo a while ago, and then I've taken some in-person lessons and some online, like one-on-one lessons. I understand the basic rules. Like I can read a little Japanese as long as there's no kanji. But I can read katakana and hiragana, and I can write it also.
Wow. You're much better than my Chinese.
Chinese, I can't even imagine. But yeah, the problem with reading it is that there are 3 written Japanese languages, and they're all just kind of thrown in, and like there's no spaces between words. So there's a lot of reading it and trying to figure out what's being said. And context is really important. Japanese is funny because the rules are very logical and always the same. So in English, we don't follow rules, but in Japanese, kind of like German, SA is always sa. I don't know. It's easier to kind of guess how things are pronounced because they always follow the same patterns.
For this podcast, our main topic is going to be about indie game markets that's popped up all over conventions. It was really big in 2025, but I do believe New Mill started it at the PAX Unplugged 2024, though, correct?
Yeah. There was one game market that popped up right before, I think in the October before the PAX Unplugged one. But I believe I had announced at the Indie Games Night Market earlier. Yeah, so PAX in 2024, we had, I think, 20 vendors. And I think we pulled in about 500 people in the line. They stopped counting at like 480 something. People lined up a couple hours before we opened. Like, it was nuts. And it was a huge success. So we went ahead and did it again in 2026. I was actually unable to attend because it was the exact same weekend as Tokyo Game Market. So I wasn't even actually at Indie Games Night Market this past time, which was a bummer. But I heard, from everybody who attended and the vendors that it went off like gangbusters once again. And then other ones have popped up in other parts of the country, which is super cool. I mean, the impulse was to bring something like Tokyo Game Market to the US because the culture around indie games is so different there than what you can find here. And I just wanted to bring more of that energy and that attitude towards games to the US. It's a little frustrated with the way that the game design and game publishing scene works in the US. And I like seeing the experimentation and stuff that happens in like Japan and Korea. The willingness to take risks on weird games is just really inspiring.
Or weird,
I love to see that weird stuff.
Themes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's a looseness there that is very cool to see.
I agree. What is your definition of indie game? What's the difference between a normal publisher that's 1 to 5 people versus like an indie game that you're having selling at your markets?
So at the Indie Games Night Market, it's typically just like one person and they don't have a company necessarily, right? It's just somebody who wants to make a thing and sell it. Often in Japan, at the Tokyo Game Market, it's the same thing. Like you'll go and Machiko Maru is selling his newest game or two. He's like a graduate student at university and he designs games just in his spare time and he always has something new for the game market. And it's just him selling it at his booth. There aren't a lot of publishers kind of in the way. There definitely are some like larger publishers at game market, but the majority of it is almost more a flea market vibe than what you might think of as board game convention. So that's kind of the ideal to me in terms of indie, is just like they make it sometimes with stuff they buy at Daiso, the dollar store, because it's cheap and they can hand make it themselves and that's it. I don't think all indie games have to be that way, that handmade or anything like that, but I think it's more of an attitude of not necessarily doing it because you want to make money on it, but because it's like something like that's passionate, something you want to make. And then obviously, if you're doing it yourself or with a friend or, smaller production.
Yeah. So what are the criteria for someone who wants to sell their games at the indie game market?
So there aren't a lot of criteria. You need to be able to bring like at least 20 copies. Otherwise, like you're not going to be able, people are not going to be able to buy it, right? There's a lot of excitement for stuff. But I don't want people to think they have to bring 100 because they may not sell through those. So that's the first thing. Specify that it isn't for people who are about to run a Kickstarter and are trying to get attention for their game to sell it on Kickstarter. The idea behind the game market is this is for people who don't want to sell on Kickstarter or use crowdfunding. Like this is another venue for it, right? So I don't want anything that's currently on Kickstarter that you're planning to Kickstarter in a year. If you decide after the game market, like it did well and you want to run a Kickstarter, that's fine. I don't care. But it's want to have people focusing on this as an alternative. No AI art was a big thing. I don't accept RPGs because I feel like there's already places for people to kind of sell RPGs. And I wanted to have the focus a little more on not traditional, but tabletop experiences that aren't role-playing games. It's not necessarily the right audience. And I don't want people to be disappointed if they bring an RPG and it doesn't sell because nobody's looking for it. There's details on the application when that application is up. But that's pretty much it. I just had people say like, yeah, I'll bring this many, at least this many. I'm not using IP that somebody else owns, I think might be on there.
I'll put the link to the website and the forum in the description of the podcast. But
cool.
I do love that PAX Unplugged is that kind of middle sweet spot of cons for me where it has good enough of playing and then a good exhibit hall. So I feel like this like fits very well in there. In 2025, I went to the Dice Tower West, had a game market. They call it Game Market Vegas. And they're also about, you have to bring at least 20. It's not on Kickstarter. And then the Midnight Market was online, but it only had 5 to 6 small games that were done, that was sold right away. So I love how it pops up, how this is a good trend, right?
Yeah, I think we probably did with Indie Games Night Market set a bit of a precedent for how these should be run. And it's cool to see other people like take the ball and roll with it. I know Taylor Reiner, who did the Game Market West, is a good friend of mine. So it's cool. I was very excited that he kind of did one. And I think he had been thinking about it. I think there were a few people when I finally launched the idea. I think there were people that had been mulling it over and just needed somebody else to kind of make the first push. And then you mentioned PAX Unplugged. It's a great partner for Game Market because we have a pretty large captive audience. It happens right after the vendor hall closes. So people are leaving and they're like, what is this huge line? And PAX is known for doing some weird stuff. They're cool with playing around with different events and things. I think it's a great fit and I'm happy to be partnering with them. They've been awesome in helping support it. I think there was one in like Tennessee or Kentucky. Like there've been a bunch that have been popping up, which is super awesome to see.
Are you thinking of like running them at more cons or different cons other than PAX?
I've talked to a couple of people. I haven't really put anything together. It's a little tricky. The needs are like you have to have the right space at the right convention. I don't want to charge people for it. I talked to Origins briefly and they wanted to have me pay for a room to do it. And so we kind of backed away from that. I talked to somebody about doing it at Breakout Con in Toronto, but I never actually talked to the convention. So there've been talk about it. One worry is, so the reason Tokyo Game Market works so well is that Japan's a pretty small country and it's very easy to travel within Japan. It's very, like, flights are super cheap.
Right.
The US is very big and it's expensive to travel from one part of the country to the other. The cool thing about the game markets, and one thing that I want to encourage is like having new stuff every time. I feel like if you keep bringing the same games to these game markets and people are going to the same conventions and they start seeing the same thing, interest will go down. Right. So it's tricky to like find enough people who are going to have games that are ready frequently enough to support multiple in a year. That's going to be the hard thing. Whereas like having them be at different places regionally and have other people running them, then you're getting more local designers in different places and hopefully like getting different stuff regularly. So I have no plans right now to do any more, but I could see it growing in the future for sure.
I like to see just a larger variety of games is always a good thing because it just helps spark creativity.
Absolutely. We're kind of at our max vendor amount at PAX Unplugged just for the space that they're allowed to give us. Or they're willing to give us. So I wish it could grow larger there, but I'm not. We may have to kind of keep it at where we are now. But that doesn't mean that like down the road, it could be its own event, right? If it gains enough steam. But we'll see.
Oh,
right now, I'm really happy to be working with PAX on it.
Do you think we'll have a big enough like for a Tokyo Game Market style thing here?
I mean, that'd be awesome. I don't know when that would happen, but that'd be super cool. Or where. That's the other thing, right? Is like the country's so big. That would you have enough people to do it, and where would you have it? So I'm not quite there yet, but that would be very cool to do one of these days. Just have its own event.
I have the Tokyo Game Market. Is it in a hotel? Where do they do it?
It's in a convention center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the last year, it's been in Chiba at Makuhari Mesa, which is it's a big convention center. Previous to that, it was at Tokyo Big Sight. But yeah, no, it's a big hall, but then it's just full of small tables, generally. And it's only 2 days. And the second day, a lot of tables get turned into RPG vendors.
Oh, interesting.
Which is really, so I usually only go for the Saturday because I get everything I need. And then some people are there both days. Some people are only there on one day or the other. But generally what I'm interested in, I can get it all on Saturday.
And can you get through the whole hall in one day?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have to plan. It's not as big as like Essen. You can definitely get through it all if you're not like looking at every single table. But like they release this catalog that has everything in it, and a lot of the stuff's online ahead of time. And so like I come up with a plan and I figure out what I want in advance, and you make reservations, and then you're just going around and picking them up and paying for them, and then you don't really have to worry about anything is going to sell out. Because most people will set reservations. As long as you pick it up by like 2 or 3 p.m. If you're late, then they release it and then anybody can buy it. So a lot of the stress is off because you can make reservations and just pick up your reservations. And then it's just going table to table and picking up what you need to pick up.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, that is really cool. I had a whole different like image in my mind, kind of like a night market in Taipei or in Japan, and then all of it's just crowded and it's a little bit dark and everyone's just selling their own games. But now I have a better picture of it.
Yeah. No, it's just in a big convention center and it's just rows of tables, really more like a flea market than anything else. They release info on their game on Twitter, like in the month or two before and with a reservation link. So I go in knowing exactly what I'm getting. And then there's always some surprises. I would like to look for stuff that I didn't see. But yeah, like 85% of what I pick up is all pre-reserved.
Okay, that's a good tip. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, for our 5 games list, right now, we're going to do 5 trick takers that stood out to us. I think both me and Daniel do not like to really do like a top 5, really ranking them. So mine are not in any specific order.
Same.
Which is what I usually do.
And I've got a range of stuff from this last year and then a couple games from years and years ago. So it's just looking at my shelf and I'm like, oh, these are cool ones that I've been into lately.
Yeah. These are the first 5 that came to mind. I'm not doing any ladder climbing Shetty games. Sometimes I lump them, but they're not the same.
They are not the same, but I did decide to have a couple of those sneak in because I've been into some of the weirder ones lately. So
that's fine.
Yeah, it is a mix for me.
Yeah. And the great thing is that trick-taking really is having a boom right now. There was a couple of board games that actually had trick-taking as a mechanism in the board game. Yep. I got to play them. They're really not my cup of tea right now, so they're not on my list. My games are all just card games, trick-taking card games. But I'm happy to see them. I'm happy to see trick-taking in different ways. Yeah.
Permeating in. Yeah. That's very cool. But absolutely. I agree. Those tend not to be for me either. But it is still cool to see it.
For those of you who don't know, the classic trick-taking game is bridge or spades or hearts. And then I do believe, like, for me, my baseline for modern trick-taking games is Skull King, which adds betting on how many tricks you're going to win to get points and different powers of the cards. So for me, that would be my baseline. They also made a dice version of Skull King that's called Mythical Dice in the US. So just to let you know that is my baseline of what I play. Just want you to know that New Mill Industries sells a lot of trick-taking games. And
so many.
I have not put any of them on my list on purpose.
Okay, all right.
Just so I don't do any favoritism, but feel free to talk about it at the end. I do have a couple of honorable mentions, but when we go through and talk about where you can find them or at the end of this list, feel free to pop in any of your favorite ones from your own line because there's so many of them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I realized I only have like maybe 5 of your games. Oh, I need to just get more of them and really get those played.
I put out, I think, 16 games just last year, which was bananas.
That's awesome.
And I currently have 20 games in stock, 20 different titles in stock. So yeah, there's definitely, if you like trick-taking, I've got lots of weird stuff for you. I also did not include any New Mill games on my list, although I will mention a couple of my favorites that I've published.
Yes, please do.
Because what's funny is like a lot of the ones from Japan that I published, it's because I could not get a copy of it because it's like super out of print. So the way to get a copy of it was just to make my own and get the rights to publish it. There's some that are some of my favorites. Like
there's so many good games from like Japan, Korea.
Oh yeah.
Taiwan, especially though Japan, because there are so many like small indie game designers that only do 100 and then don't remake the games. And then it just so happens if someone comes across a Cardboard East video or someone like you that goes and sees it and can, bring it and get the rights and publish it. Otherwise, they're just lost to, the 100 people that actually got it. And it's kind of sad because I know there's so many great ones and just so limited copies.
Totally. And so most of the games on my list, actually all the games on my list were games that I picked up in Japan, typically from Tokyo Game Market, or games that debuted at Tokyo Game Market. So I'm excited to share some of those.
Well,
that
that's
people
good
might not
because
have heard
most of my list is ones that I've gotten in the US that people have brought over. So we'll have some so that you can hopefully find them in different areas. Do you have a good source of where people can buy the games that are on your list?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of websites. I don't know about these specifically, but there are a couple of websites that do what I do, bringing stuff from Japan, but a little more reliably, and they keep stuff in stock. So trickyimports.com is out of Portland, Oregon, and he basically brings a lot of imports in from Japan, the Tokyo Game Market stuff. Yeah, it's just trickyimports.com. So that's where I would send folks. Tanuki Games I believe in Austin, Texas, also brings a lot of stuff over. Trying to think. If you're in the UK, travel-games.co.uk also does a lot of importing from Japan. There's a few other places, but yeah, there are a handful of companies that are doing this, bringing these Japanese games over and selling them. So they're not all impossible to get. Just kind of depends on what they can get their hands on.
And also try Amazon.Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can find them there. The shipping might be a little bit more expensive, but yeah.
I mean, if you really want to get adventurous, there's a website called Booth in Japan, which is kind of, booth.jp, I think. And so a lot of the Japanese designers who sell stuff at Tokyo Game Market will then put their games up for sale on Booth. And it's kind of like Etsy or eBay, where it's just people selling directly and they're shipping things out themselves. They go to a warehouse, and then there are services. So it's tricky to get stuff from Japan because a lot of people don't want to send things internationally.
Yeah.
So there are like consolidation services that you can have them buy the game on your behalf from a bunch of different people, and then they'll all send it to the warehouse, and then they will then send the things to you once everything's come together. Buye, Buyee, is one of these services that I've used. I have like 2 or 3 games I bought this way that I missed at Tokyo Game Market, and I'm waiting for this last one to get delivered so I can get everything sent to me. But that takes a little more legwork, so it may not be for everyone. It's not quite so easy and seamless to do, but there are definitely ways to do it without having to fly to Japan.
I mean, if you
That's my favorite way to do
Japan,
it. Yeah, definitely my favorite way to get them. But there are ways to bring them over.
And Japan's culture is about keeping the best in Japan, so they don't export a lot of the best stuff. So if you can go to Japan, always bring an empty suitcase. Is all I have to say.
I usually buy an extra suitcase when I'm there. I have my store that I go to every trip to buy my second suitcase.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I bought the same suitcase like 3 or 4 times now. The exact same one. Because I don't want to take an empty one. It's easier just to and they're not that expensive there. So I'll just buy one. Now I have a collection of Japanese suitcases if anybody needs a Japanese suitcase. I'm going to put that up for sale on Numo.
I like to put a suitcase inside of a suitcase. If that makes sense. And then that's how I do Gen Con or PAX Unplugged.
Sure. I know I'm going to need 2 full-size suitcases for all the stuff that I get because I bring stuff back to sell, right?
Right.
So I fill 2 big suitcases coming back.
Wow.
Which is pretty nuts. Yeah, trying to navigate the Tokyo subway system with 2 60-pound suitcases is super fun.
Yeah, sometimes they don't have elevators that work, so you're lugging up and down stairs, or you're not at the right exit.
Yeah, you have to know which exit for sure.
Well, have you tried the service where they take your suitcase from your hotel and directly send it to the airport, and then you just meet
I've not done that. A friend of mine does it now, and he raves about it. And I'm too cheap, I think. I'm stubborn. Cheap and stubborn is really what it is. It's no, I can do it. I live in New York City. It's fine. So
for me, I love doing that. That's how I do it. And it's a little bit frustrating because you have to wait for the person to come and pick up your suitcase before you can go anywhere. But then it's so easy. You just
then you have to worry about
area.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. I'll figure that out one of these days. But I've got my systems now. So why do I change it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, until you get old and then you're back saying, no, you can't lug these suitcases up.
My last trip I was recovering from a broken foot, which made things a little trickier.
Yeah.
And I wound up, I think I took a cab to the airport just because I was I don't want to deal with it this time. But usually I'll take the trains.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first and talk about your trick taking?
Yeah.
Games?
Okay. So the first one on my list, because I was just looking at my shelf and I'm which ones do I want to talk about? Which ones, if I think trick taking and cool games that I played recently, what jumps out? And one of the first ones was Bitcoin by a guy named Shibu. I won't have publishers for any of these because typically they're just self-published. And these are all games from Japan. So Bidcoin is super cool in that rather than look at your hand and make your bid from the very beginning, you only bid when you win tricks and if you have gone over your previous bid. So everybody starts out with these cards, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 in front of you. Okay. And when you win your first trick, you decide how many you want to bid. So at that point, you could push your 1 card forward, or you can go, I think I'm going to take 3. I'm going to push my 3 card forward. You stay at that 3 bid until you take a 4th trick. And then you have to decide, well, now am I going to put my 1? So now I'm at 4, or do I think I can take 2 more? So you're able to shift your bid as you go. If you succeed at that hand, let's say I did the 3 and then I added the 1. So I said 4 and I took 4 tricks. I get to get rid of that 1 and that 3 card. They're gone.
Okay.
The goal is to get rid of all of your bid cards over the course of 3 hands. So yeah, having that flexible bidding is super interesting. There's also some cards that if you win with like a 6, you actually take the trick you take counts as 2, which can really throw off your math of how many tricks you think you're going to win. So super, super cool. Shibu has done a bunch of other really interesting games. Peter's Two Sheepdogs, Lazy Bellboys. Some of them are available. Some are very not available. Because he's just a guy who runs a grocery store in Nagoya and comes to Tokyo Game Market and makes these amazing games and then goes back to his grocery store. It's wild. Anyway, so that's Bitcoin.
Funny.
Yeah.
I saw it at Spiel, but the theme really turned me off.
Yeah, I ignore a lot of the theming because I don't really trick taking or climbing games. Like for me, it's not about the theme; it's about how the simple rules create really interesting emergent play. Right? That's what's interesting to me. The theme can be whatever. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it helps. Most of the time, I don't care. So yeah, I think it's about cryptocurrency or something. But whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's why I didn't really look at it. But yeah, that sounds really interesting that
it's really
you're trying
clever.
to get rid of your bidding cards.
Yeah. And if you fail, you just get them back. And you have another chance to get rid of them. You can also go nil. That's interesting because it depends on how many cards are left in your hand. That's how many cards you turn to show you're going nil. But if you fail, you take an extra 1 card in addition to getting all of your bid cards back.
Interesting.
So yeah. Also super, super, super interesting. So yeah, Bitcoin by Shibu.
Have you ever thought of re-theming some of these?
I mean, a lot of the games that I brought over from Japan to publish, I have rethemed.
Okay.
And we can talk about that when we talk about the New Mill stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll mention one of my games is by a designer whose game I published and rethemed. So I'll talk about it when I get to that one for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So that's Bidcoin, BID, and I'll put a link into the description for all of these games, so you can check them out. For my first game, it's going to be No Loose Ends, designed by Taiki Shinzawa, published by Gamehead for 2 to 5 players. I recently played this at a 5-player count, really enjoyed it at the higher player count. The difference for this trick-taking game is that you are bidding with cards from your hand, and the card that you put out, you need to win the trick with either the same color or the same number as the card that's your bid. And you can bid up to 3 cards. And if someone bids 0, no one else can bid 0. If you go over or under your bid, you're losing points. If someone bids 0 and not win any tricks, they get like 10 points. It's a very interesting, like all the thinking is in that bidding phase where you're like, okay, I have the highest card. Do I have another card that I can use to win the trick for that card? Or do I have enough of that color to win? And there is a suit that beats all other suits. And so it's like, how many of those? Because you know what's in the deck. You know what almost everyone else has. I think all the cards are usually dealt out. So it's like, if they're going to bid that, then I maybe don't want to bid that. It's just really thinky in the very beginning of it. And it's so interesting. It's not just like bidding a certain number. You have to win with that color or that number. And everyone's gunning for the 0 bid person. Because if they
don't want to let them
have
those 10 points.
No! And if they get their 10 points, all of your over or under bids are now -2 instead of -1. It is quite an interesting game. The art's pretty nice. Now, I'm like you, where the theme usually doesn't play into my gameplay except for when I'm just like interested in a game. But this one, I think, definitely plays better at the 4 or 5 player count rather than the 2 to 3 player count.
Yeah, for sure. I actually, I had played, and I have the original version, Shut the Books, which was a Tokyo Game Market release that was then picked up by Gamehead. And they did a little development work. I think they made some changes. Yeah, Shut the Books was great. I'm a big fan of Taiki Shinzawa as a designer. And I've met him. I see him now when I visit Tokyo, which is super cool. I've been to the puzzle store where he works. He's an amazing designer. Very inspiring. Yeah, it's a great
awesome.
one.
That's No Loose Ends from Gamehead.
Next one I'll talk about was a Tokyo Game Market release from this last December called Karaoke Trick. It's trick taking. Before you start, everybody takes 1 or 2 cards, depending on player count, and puts them in front of them. And those are the only cards they can lead a trick with after they win a trick. And they have to go in a specific order. So you have a left and a right. And as soon as you win a trick, your left card goes out. And then your right one shifts over. Everybody else, it's must follow. And everybody else can either follow or they can play a card into their reserve, saying that when they win a trick, that will be one of the cards they lead with. So you're constantly kind of deciding, do I want to play in or do I want to set myself up for later? At the end of the hand, the person who wins the most tricks gets 1 point per trick and everybody else gets 1 point per card they took. So ideally, you want to be second most tricks and have a lot of cards from those tricks because then you get 1 point per card. So that balancing act of like, well, I've already won 2, I don't want to win a third one because then I'll only be getting 3 points instead of 6 points or 8 points or whatever is super interesting. And the designer is Soyama, plays 3 to 5, super interesting. And it's one of those things where you're reading the rules and you're like, I don't see how this is going to be that wild. And then you're playing it and your brain just goes, oh, I see okay. And trying to get your footing with it is really interesting. So yeah, that's Karaoke Trick by Soyama.
So there's a Karaoke Trick on BGG, and it says designer is Argent, publisher is Poor Ideology. Is that a different one?
That is the same game. The translated rules I have say Soyama, so I don't know where Argent comes from. It is the same kanji as what's on the BGG page. That is the correct listing. Argent might be their handle, like their Twitter handle or something.
Okay.
Their BGG handle.
Yeah.
A lot of folks in Japan go by pseudonyms. And so it can be tricky sometimes to get the actual designer's name. Oh, but it looks like they have some other stuff under Argent.
For my second one, I'm going to talk about Cat in the Box, the deluxe edition. So Cat in the Box originally was a small box of cards, just cards from Japan. And then Bezier picked it up for US distribution and made it into a deluxe edition with pieces and boards and stuff like that. The designer is
Muneyuki Yokouchi.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. For 2 to 5 players. This one really, I think, was at the early spread of trick taking. And because it has a really cute black cat, and I think it's one of the few trick takers that have no suits at all in the cards. And you're choosing the suit and this little board in front of you and placing the card in that area, and that's the suit. So the cards themselves are all black and white and a little bit of color. So the suit, you actually have these numbers and you're choosing what color to make the card and the suit. And then there's a board where you're placing your pieces on that color and on that suit in the board. So it's a little bit of area control because you want to connect your pieces to each other orthogonally in order to get the most points. The board also tells everyone what numbers are left for the suit because there can only be one number per suit. It was very interesting, and they made a great production out of it. Like, it's really beautiful on the table, really interesting gameplay. You're still betting on how many tricks you can take, but there's no real downside for not meeting your tricks. You just don't get the bonus points, and you're trying to focus on not only winning tricks to meet your bet, but also the area control of where your pieces are and where other people can put their pieces to get more points because you get a point per connected piece on the board.
If you make your bid, right?
Yeah, when you make your bid, yeah. It's a really lovely game. I think the theming is really great. The art is beautiful. So, yeah, that's Cat in the Box from Bezier.
Yeah, Cat in the Box blew my mind the first time I played it. I was obsessed with it. It was one of those early Japanese games that kind of made it over here. And I had never seen anything that did what it did. Yeah, super great pick. I love Cat in the Box. The next one I will talk about is a climbing shedding game called Recurrring. That has 3 R's, Recurrring. I don't know what it is about this game, but I absolutely love it. The deck is 1 1, 2 2s, 3 3s, etc., up to 9 9s, depending on the player count. At 4 players, you don't have any 9s. And then there are also a bunch of these R cards, which are essentially the weakest card. On your turn, you're playing a card. The strengths of it, 9s are the weakest and 1 is the strongest. So you can either play the same number of cards, but stronger, so a lower number, or you can play 1 more than the number of cards that's out of any value. So if there's a single 2, you can either play a 1 or any pair, right? And you can only play sets. When you play cards, you take the cards that were played before and you put them in your hand.
Mm.
And if it goes all the way around after you've played and nobody plays over it, you get to score those cards, put those cards in your score pile. At the end of the hand, once somebody has shed out, everybody scores 1 point per card that they were able to score earlier. Unless it's an R card, R cards are worth 0, unless you were the first person to shut out, in which case they're worth a point apiece. So if you're familiar with games like Scout or Delt, Crash Carry Art, it's definitely like along those lines. It's just a super fun kind of thinky climbing shedding game. Or Linko, if you know Linko or a Bluxen, it has some vibes of that as well. This was one that I found a copy of on my last trip for actual reasonable price. Normally I was seeing it for like 8,000 yen, which is
wow,
probably about $60, which was like more than I wanted to spend. And I found it for like 3,000 yen and I was super excited. So that's Recurring. And the designer's name is Cyan.
So is Cyan a team? I know it's the publisher as well.
Yeah,
but...
it's hard to know with some of these, right? It could just be one person. It could be a design circle where it's like 2 or 3 people who design games under the same name.
Okay.
I don't know in this case whether it's just a single person or not because it just doesn't say in the game itself.
That's very interesting though. For my next one, it is Moo and More that is published by various different publishers because there's various different editions. The one I got was the Heidelberg Games through CGE edition. The designer is Doris Mateus and Frank Nestel for 2 to 6 players. And I think it really does play well at most player counts. What I really enjoy about it, and that's why I like it at a little bit of a higher player count, is that you're playing kind of on teams. The start player will put out what they want to be a trump, either a number or a suit, and then the next player decides what they want to put out, but then the next player is like, oh, which team? It's really cool how you bet to see who's going to be the start player, and then the following player has to be in a different team, and you're always changing teams up, and it's semi-cooperative because you are playing on teams, but in the end, whoever has the most points wins. It's a really interesting way to do it, and I love the team aspect of it. Even though you're switching teams from round to round, I absolutely love the team aspect of trick taking. I've never played bridge though, so I don't know how that would work, but it was one of the first that I actually got to play where you are on teams. And it plays well at 3 too, because there's 2 against 1, right? So it works well. It's very interesting on how it plays. As soon as I taught people, they're like, oh, we need to pick it up because it was smooth, interesting, different than a lot of other trick takers because you're choosing the suits in the very beginning that are your trump suits or trump numbers. And some of the cards I do believe are on the table face up and some of them are in your hand. So you have different information. It's a really interesting game. And if you find a copy, definitely try it. I really like it though.
Yeah, Moo is a fascinating game. I've played it a few times, usually at 5 players, because then you wind up like a 3-on-2 situation, which is really interesting. It does have some like DNA of some older German traditional games like Konigrufen or Doppelkopf that has that kind of variable partnership, like from one hand to the next, who your partner is can change, but then there's an ultimate winner, which is really interesting. I have some issues with those games sometimes because you can wind up with somebody who just kind of runs away with the game. because they're always on the winning team, and then you don't want to be on their team because you're just helping them win if you're falling behind. So that can be a rough dynamic sometimes, but super interesting. Have you played any of the other games in that box? Because the more in the Mu and More, because I think there's like 4 games that come in that box, right?
Really?
Yeah. Mu is just one. That's what the more is. There's like rules for like 3 or 4 games in Mu and More. Yeah. There have been a few different editions of those, and some of them come with different games than others, depending on like, the release. Yeah.
I think I have to go back and look because I always teach new players, so we always start with the basic game. So I'll have to go and see what other games there is. And
they're totally like just have nothing to do with Mu. They use the same cards or some subset of the same cards. Yeah. There's a compendium of games in there. Yeah, go look. Yeah. There's 3 or 4 games. And they're supposed to be really good too. Ashtit, I think, is one that was in the Mu and More box. There are like 3 or 4 games in there. So definitely, explore the...
Yeah, definitely. I do like it when, especially for card games, when there's multiple games in it for you to play. But man, I think that just went over my head that there was multiple games. So I'm so glad you told me.
Do you know about Zoo and More that Taylor Rayner did?
Well, I love what was his first game that he did with Bezier? It was Sears Catalog, right?
Sears Catalog, yeah. Which was originally of What's Left, I think. So he did Zoo and More, which is also a box of 4 different games and different decks of cards from a few different designers. So
that's so
it was kind of his homage to Mu and More, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I do want to check it out because I do love the zoo theme. Sure.
I think I'm not sure. He ran a Kickstarter for it. There might still be available. I'm sure you could reach out to him and he'll hook you up.
Yeah, Sears Catalogs is also a good one. A trick-taking game. It's not on my list right now, but yeah, that's another one that you should check out for sure.
My next one I'm going to talk about is Sumida River, another Japanese design from a handful of years ago, 3-4 years ago maybe, by Mashika Maru. And he is someone who publishes his own stuff. This is one that I really wanted to do a version of, and he's not letting me publish it. Even though I did publish a version of his game Iados, which I rethemed and renamed as Worst in Show, which is about a dog show where the dogs are strategically misbehaving. That is still available from New Mill Industries, and Beth Sobel did the art for that. But Sumida River is the one I'm talking about. It is another climbing shedding game, but it's unusual in that there are only different meld types that you're able to shed at one time. And as soon as somebody has shed to that type, you can't play that same combination type until it gets reset. And there's only 2 colors, black and red. Black single, red single, and then a black pair or a 2-card run of red, 3-card run of black, 3 of a kind of red, 4 of a kind of black, 4-card run. So you have these laid out and you can only play to those, but you have to escalate the card strengths. A couple of them have kind of special powers. There's also a thing in it where before the game starts, you look at your hand and you decide whether you're happy with your hand or not. And if you're not, you can trade your hand with somebody else by adding a wild card to it. So there's these rounds of of hand trades until everybody's happy. And then you may or may not have wild cards in there, which is super interesting. And then you're playing a card shedding, climbing shedding game. I'm not a big climbing shedding fan in general, but I really like the ones that do weird stuff like this. This is probably my absolute favorite. And he's also a designer who I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, has become a bit of a friend, which has been really cool. We always hang out with him and play games after Tokyo Game Market, which has been really fun.
I love that.
So Sumida River, Mashika Maru.
I do like ladder climbing shedding games. So now that you have 2 on your list, you're going to have to replace them with 2 from New Mills and talk about 2 of your games.
I will. Okay, I will.
Yeah, and for everyone that's not a trick taker, you're going to have to talk about
those are the only 2. Those are the only 2. So when we're done, I'll do 2 New Mill trick taking games that are 2 of my favorites.
Awesome. Sure. Perfect. My number 4 is going to be one that I just learned and played recently. Very interesting. I've never played any other trick takers that are similar. You can tell me if there's another one. But it's Mystery Tricks, designed by John Barron, published by Barron John Games for 3 to 5 players. If you look at the box, you automatically think Scooby-Doo. And it is a mystery trick-taking games. The art is by Ragnar Tessier, I do believe. But oh my gosh, it's very interesting because everyone deals their card of hands. Then you look and you order order them, and then you place them face down to the person on your left. That person just plays it out so that one side is the lowest and one side is the highest, and everyone knows what suit they have in their hand, and they know what side is lowest and what side is highest. So it's kind of like Xylotar in that way.
Yeah, I was going to say Magic Trick, which was what's the game that Xylotar became.
Yeah, exactly. But you're playing blind. You don't know what number you're playing. You're just playing based on the suit or where it is in your tableau. And then at the end of the game, everyone should have one of each of the different suits, but you don't know what that number is. And you need to say exactly what that card is to win the game. It's a completely cooperative trick-taking game. And there's a whole bunch of cards in the middle of the table. So when you win a trick, you get to look at one of those cards. So you have to kind of remember what you gave the next person, and then you have to remember what is on the table. So it's a very heavy memory aspect to this. And it's so interesting because you are trying to find out like who did it, who was the monster, where it was, all those things by remembering what you've seen. Certain people have to win more tricks to see more of the cards. We always have like different ways to learn. Like we were talking about it before and after. Before we're like, okay, you have more of that suit. So you should remember what's on the table for that suit. And then I have more of that suit. But then at the end of the game, we're like, oh, we should have remembered what the cards we gave to the person on the left was in a way so that we kind of know what the one card maybe that they did not flip over. If you have a lot of that one card, then we could be like, wait, the person that passed along that card should look at that suit instead of the person that has the cards so that they could kind of remember one suit only and what cards are in there. It's very interesting. I am terrible at memory games. And so this is very like, do I like it or not? Because I love the trick taking. It's very interesting. It's a face down trick taking game. But the memory aspect was like, no, what have we done? Type of thing. And the art is great. The theme is, a little hokey, but very cute. So it's definitely one that you have to have the right group to play with that enjoy trick taking and memory games at the same time. But this is one that was like really unique to me.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting. Yeah, you mentioned Xylotar or Magic Trick, which has a similar vibe. There's a Japanese game called Malumiere, which is a tiny, tiny box, but it does a similar thing with the suits on the back, but they have icons for the suits, and the relative size of the icon will tell you whether they're high or low. So rather than having somebody sort them, you have them in front of you, and you have to kind of guess by like how big that teardrop is. And some of them are very difficult to discern. So that also does that kind of face down thing. Also reminds me of Lose, or there are a couple other games where you can only see the backs of your cards, but you can see everybody else's cards.
Yeah.
So you're kind of the deduction element there. So there are a few games that play around with that, but I don't know of any that are cooperative like that.
Right?
Really interesting. Yeah, the cooperative with the deduction of like what's left, which, that's completely memory. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's definitely going to push people off because memory is one of those things that you either
works for you or it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure even if you play with someone with perfect memory, everybody else is not going to have perfect memory. So it's going to be very interesting. And when you look at the cards in the center, you can't show anyone. Like, you can't help each other.
Yeah, you can't just say what it is. Yeah, interesting.
We wanted to. We were like, it's a cooperative game. We should be able to be like, it's definitely not that because I saw that. But in the rules, it says you can't talk. So
yeah. Well, it kind of breaks the game if you could just tell everybody.
I know, it'd be a little bit too easy, right?
Yeah, I got all of the games from John in his last batch. I just have not got. I'm drowning in trick-taking games that I haven't played yet.
That was Mystery Tricks by Baron John Games. So what is your last game?
All right. So my last one is I'm the CEO, which is the recent Japanese edition of a game called Slough Off, which is the Evil Griffin edition of a game called Die Sieben Siegel, which I think was the original German edition. It was also released as Wizard Extreme. But the edition that I'm specifically talking about is I'm the CEO. So I like the art the best of all of them. From Suki Games, designed by Stefan Dora. So the only German designer on my list of 5, the rest being Japanese. But I bought this at Tokyo Game Market, so it counts as a Japanese game. Very interesting game. You have 5 suits, and then 1 through 15 at the maximum player count, but that gets adjusted down if you're playing with fewer. It plays 3 to 5, and it's really good at 5 players. You are looking at your hand and guessing how many of each suit you think you're going to win tricks in, and you take tokens for those. So if I have the yellow 15 and the green 14 and 15, then maybe I'll take 2 green tokens and a yellow one, okay? And my goal is to get rid of those tokens over the course of the game and not take any other tricks. If I get rid of those tokens and I don't take any other tricks, I get 0 points, and that's great. If I fail to get rid of any of my tokens, I lose 2 points per. And if I take any tricks that I didn't anticipate, I lose 3 points for each one. So you're trying to really exactly bid, similar to Shut the Books or No Loose Ends. You want to bid exactly what you think you're going to take. It's a riot. I love this game. It can be very difficult. Oh, the other wrinkle is one player can choose to be a saboteur. I don't remember what the name of it is, and I'm the CEO. It's probably something different, probably the CEO, where you are betting that other people are going to mess up. So you have these 4 tokens that if you don't get rid of them are worth a point apiece. If you can give them to other people when other people mess up and take tricks they didn't mean to, you give them one of your tokens. So that's fewer points that you are going to get, negative points, and they get to take them instead. But otherwise, you're allowed to take whatever tricks you want. But really, you want other people to be taking stuff that they don't want. I love this game. I played it recently. I taught it to some friends, and it went over really well. And it's one that I play online with the group that I mentioned before, kind of on our Sunday get-togethers. But yeah, super fun. It can be very brutal, but always a good time. And that's Stefan Dora. And this edition, again, is called I'm the CEO, published by Suki Games.
I feel trick-taking games can be brutal at times.
Oh, yeah. I used to hate mean games. Like, I did not want to play mean games, but I do not mind. I think with trick-taking, like, nobody's ever being targeted, right?
Yeah.
It's just the spirit of the game is you're going after what you need and you're making sure other people fail. And that's just the game. And they're often over very quickly and you move on to the next and there's no hurt feelings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't mind meanness in trick-taking games, really.
Yeah, I have to say the same. Like, I don't mind meanness in quick games.
Yeah.
And most card games are quick games, like trick-taking games. But I don't like it when it's area control meanness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very easy to feel like you're being picked on or targeted, and that doesn't feel great. And those tend to go on for way too long. For me personally, not my style.
For
What's
my
your
last
fifth one?
game, before the honorable mentions, it is the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. From Brian Brommuller, published it by Office Dog Games for 1 to 4 players. It's based off The Crew. I think that is the original cooperative trick-taking game that I've seen. Well, first one that I saw, right?
It's the first one that really blew up. Yeah, there were a couple that came out before that didn't get the attention, but The Crew definitely broke that wide open. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I do love The Crew and the second one as well. I think that's also one that is campaign game. So I really enjoyed that. And I've been really enjoying the series, the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game series. Yeah. The 2 Towers just came out. I only played a little bit of it. I really want to play more of it. And also, this is one of those games that actually plays pretty well solo. And I like the way that they did the solo, where you don't see all the cards that are going to come out, but you're only going to see certain ones for each of the different hands. And you're kind of playing multiplayer solo, but you're not seeing all the cards that are in the deck.
Right.
It's fun. It's a nice puzzle to play solo, but it's really nice puzzle to play cooperative with other people. The characters and the storyline follows the books pretty well, the Lord of the Rings books. So I had to give this one a shout out. It's the most thematic trick taker that I know of that really brings the theme into the game. But I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. And also Taylor, again, mentioning Taylor, he did development on these games. Right. He did a lot of work and he brought a lot of knowledge from like the Japanese games that he's played. And there's like, if you played a lot of these Japanese games, you see some DNA sprinkled in with some of these chapters, which has been really fun. I helped play test a little bit. with Fellowship and Two Towers. So that was really fun. I just started playing it with my wife this weekend, 2-player.
Nice.
So yeah, Fellowship of the Rings is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Great pick.
So that is the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game is the full title from Office Dog Games. So now you have your new mill games that you got to talk about now.
I owe you 2. Okay.
Yeah.
And they got to be trick-taking games. I've done both trick-taking and climbing shedding.
Mm-hmm.
One of my most recent that I published this last fall is called Vegeterrors. Originally, it was Makai Fuda, and that was from Tokyo Game Market maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I forget now. It's really interesting in that it's must not follow, and you are betting on what suit you think is going to win the most times. So it's not how many tricks you're going to take, but what suit you think is going to win the most.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. And the deck makeup is really weird. It's not a standard deck at all. There's 4 suits, but one of them has 2 9s, 3 6s, and 2 3s, and another has 4 4s and 2 7s. It's very weird. And then there's kind of an internal ranking if there are ties with the different suits. It was one of my favorite games from Tokyo Game Market from a couple years ago, and it was one I was able to talk to the designer and get them to let me publish it. And so it was really exciting to be able to put it out. And that's one that's still available for purchase because that was just from the October pre-order. So it fulfilled this in December. And then another one I'll mention, I want to make sure I say ones that are still in print because I don't want to direct you to games that you can't even get from me anymore. So Tezuma Trick is another Japanese one. I'll just stay on theme. Was originally released as Tezuma Master, I think 10 or 15 years ago. And it's one where you do a lot of drafting at the beginning. So you're choosing your bid scheme. I did some development to simplify these bids, but let's say there'll be 4 cards out and one of them is I'm going to take 4 tricks, but if I take 3 or 5, I'll still get points. I'll just get less points. Or I'm going to take 0, or I'm going to take, whatever, 2, but if I get 3 or 4, I'll get fewer points. So you're choosing your bid, you're choosing a special power, and you're choosing a pain suit. So if you played like Stick 'em, if you take cards of that suit, then you lose points. So you're doing all that before you start, and then you play trick taking, and then you evaluate how you did. It's also, the theme is a traditional Japanese magic style, which is I think only practiced by like 2 or 3 people at this point. Like it's become this thing that not many people, even in Japan, know that much about. So I worked with the designer and made sure that we were being really respectful to the theme and his original vision. So that was super cool. That's Tezuma Trick. It was a grail game for a lot of folks. Even in Japan, I had people come up and ask me when I was publishing it because they knew that I was going to do it. When is it coming? When is it coming? So that was very cool to put that one back out there after having been out of print for so long and really hard to get.
I'll definitely have to check it out. What criteria do you reprint games from your own catalog? And which ones do you just like let go and stop printing?
I pretty much don't do reprints.
Okay.
My interest is getting more stuff out there for folks who want it and less about keeping things in stock. And I'm not interested in finding evergreens. I'm interested in finding more new weird stuff to make available, right? I have done some reprinting of my own games if I felt like there was demand. I did do a small reprint of the 6 of 8 because I took pre-orders. I thought I knew how many I needed, and they just kept pre-ordering to the point where like by the time they shipped to me, I was almost out of stock. So we just did another quick 100 run. And then those sold out. And then that got picked up by 25th Century and was just on Kickstarter, the 6 of 8. So big shout out to Carol LeGros and her success with that game. Super, super good game. But I don't sell it anymore, so I'm not going to tell you to buy it. No, that's not true. Absolutely buy 6 of 8. It's amazing. And I was glad to kind of get it the attention of somebody who is able to do a bigger print run. Because that's really the goal with New Mill for me has always been, let's get these weird things out there that people aren't taking chances on and hopefully get enough attention that somebody, another bigger publisher who can do a larger run will see there's interest and then give it the big production it deserves. So seeing that happen with 6 of 8, with Torchlit, which I did as a little dog release, Spring Cleaning, which became Haunted Mouths from Bezier.
Yes.
These are all, for me, exactly what I was hoping would happen with New Mill, where I'm bringing a game out and it's getting picked up and giving a broader release, which is awesome. But yeah, my interest is not in having games in my stable that I'm constantly selling. I'm more interested in just, like, getting more new stuff out there.
It's wonderful, though. I have 2 honorable mentions as well. You were saying how, like, Bezier's bringing spring cleaning as, was it Haunted Mouse, right?
Haunted
I
Mouse,
love
yeah.
spring cleaning. I've been playing on BGA, so I'm very glad that they're bringing it as
it's so
Haunted
good.
Mouse.
Yeah.
But one of my honorable mentions has to be Rebel Princess from Daniel Byrne, Jose Gerald Guerrero, and Kevin Pelaez. There's 4 of them.
Okay.
Friso Virgos. Is that correct? Probably.
I don't know.
but Bezier's bringing it. Rebel Princess is for 3 to 6 players, and basically they have done a variant on hearts. So if you look on the skulls on the art of the box, they have hearts in their eyes because it's a variant of hearts where everyone now has a special power. And then you're trying to not win princes because princes are points or negative points, whichever way you want to look at it. And there's even the frog prince, which is an animal suit, but it gives you 5 points or negative points, which is horrible. Or you can go all out and try to get all the princes, including the frog prince, which is really fun. And then their next game that they're coming out is Zombie Princess, which is a spades variant. So I wanted to shout that out because those are really fun. And then my other one is, I'm sorry, but it's not published yet. It is going to be on Kickstarter in July of 2026. It is Rascally Rabbits from designer Tate Wu, published by Sunrise Tornado for 2 to 6 players. The unique thing about Rascally Rabbits, and I play tested it a couple of times, is that instead of a hand of cards, you have one card that's a grid. And then the top and side of the grid is your suits. And then in the middle of the grid is your numbers, right? And then this setup is you're going to draw a line so that some of the numbers has 2 possible suits that you can choose from. And some of them only have 1 possible suit. And you're going to be marking off random 2 numbers as well and some suits. And then the trump suit is always random as well. You're going to flip a card and then that's going to tell you what the trump suit is. And you're still going to do your bidding for how many tricks you're going to win. And some tricks will give you rabbits. That's going to give you more points and stuff. It's very interesting the way that he's done it. And I really enjoy it in a lot of different player accounts. So I'm very excited to see it get published. And it's really interesting because usually you don't get to choose what suit the number is, but this one you get to choose between 2 suits some of the times, and you want to follow exactly the same card number and suit as previous player because that's how you get your rabbits. But at the same time, sometimes you want to be the winner so that you can meet your bids as well. So it's a very interesting twist on trick taking that I was like, wow, Tate's brain is a little bit just amazing in that way. I am very excited for more people to check it out and play it. So that's Rascally Rabbits, but that one's coming to Kickstarter. So that's my little
sneak peek
outside of the line of the games. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I have like a billion other games I could talk about. You would have to stop me. But yeah, there's so many games out there.
That's a whole series.
Seriously. Yeah, I could go on for hours. Every time I go to Tokyo, I come back with like 40 or 50 new games. It's just like, I can't play all these. Usually the cream rises to the top. And the ones I have left from a couple of years ago are maybe not so great. Because that's the other thing about Tokyo Game Market is you don't know anything about these games before you buy them.
Yeah.
There are no previews, right? Like, so you're buying on either because you know the designer and you really like their stuff, or the art is appealing, or something about the description sounds interesting, but it's kind of a crapshoot. You just don't know. They're not all winners, but for me, that's part of the fun of going is the discovery. They're like, this one actually is very cool, and I had no idea. And it's worth a few stinkers to have that experience, I think.
Yeah, and also they're usually not that expensive because they're smaller box games or card games.
You're talking like $10, $12 to take a risk. Like, I'm willing to do that. So
yeah, absolutely. So now we've come to our moment of positivity. We're going to talk about or celebrate something big or something small that's happening in our lives. If you don't mind, I'm going to go first.
Please.
So my moment is that Mahjong is coming back for a younger generation.
I know a few people who've been talking about Mahjong recently. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it. I've always loved it as a kid. I've always played it, but I've never went heavy into the gambling. It was always like quarters or dimes, maybe $5 max, one of those types of things. And there's a lot of people that have a problem. It is like poker where it can be fully gamble. There's people that need to not do it. They lose their homes. It's really sad. But I like how this resurgence of Mahjong, and there's a lot of different communities, different groups, different leagues that happen now, especially in America and in the West, that are teaching the younger generation Mahjong. In Southern California, we're having pop-ups in boba tea shops and bars where there's like 10, 15 tables of Mahjong. People are bringing their own tables, they're teaching. And I just recently went to a friend's house and we had 2 tables and we were teaching our friends how to play it. It's basically gin rummy with these tiles that are very, very tactile. And at the same time as playing and teaching Mahjong, we're teaching them Chinese because you kind of have to know your 1 through 9 kanji, that type of thing, the characters. And I'm like teaching them pronunciation. And there's things that you have to yell out when you want to grab tiles from other people. But it's so much fun. It's such a part of my childhood. I love it, but you have to have 3 to 4 players. I don't really play at 3 players. It's definitely best at 4 players. But that's really been making me happy is to play more Mahjong and just play it basic. You win or you lose, right? And then once people get into it, then they can talk about the different scoring systems and the different ways to play. There's probably over 100 different ways to play, but I usually play either Hong Kong style or Taiwan style. But I know in the Philippines, there's like 10, 20 different ways to play just depending on where you live and your own family rules. There's different ways to score. There's books on how to score Mahjong as well. But just even playing the basic Jin Rummy and just playing for winning is still a lot of fun. Now, there are apps on your phone that say it's Mahjong, but it's not Mahjong. It's not the Jin Rummy Mahjong. It's just matching.
Solitaire. Yeah.
It's Mahjong Solitaire, which is just matching. It's not that, okay? So it has to be like a Jin Rummy style that I really love. But it's been making me really happy that it's coming back. A lot more younger people are playing it. And I feel like you can play it with a master and older people, and it connects those 2 generations a little bit. And you get to see how really serious they are. There's tables that will wash the tiles and set it up for you. So it's one of those things that is so culturally significant in Chinese culture, especially in Taipei, that I'm really happy that it's spreading and it's getting a resurgence and people are making lighter versions of the tiles. So it's more easily, packed up and traveled with. But there's wooden versions. There's 3D printed versions. There's card versions as well, but I really love the tactile nature.
I've seen Mahjong card decks for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who's been talking about Riichi Mahjong. He really wants to play Riichi Mahjong. So I guess that's been floating around. I actually even had a couple of submissions for the last Indie Games Night Market that were like Mahjong based, Mahjong variants or something. I didn't know enough about what was going on. And I had other things that I wanted to let in. But yeah, Mahjong has definitely been percolating over the last year. Like I keep seeing it more and more. So that's really cool. So my last trip to Japan, because everything has to go back to Japan, right? My son asked if I could find a 3DS in the used video game store. And I found one, and then I had to bring it back and basically hack it to make it run English. Because it was Japanese language and region locked. And I sat there for 2 or 3 hours. I figured out how to do it. And now I have his old 2DS and he has a 3DS. And we've been playing Pokemon games together. He's 16. And this 2DS he had when he was little, and we gave it to his cousin and then we got it back. We've been playing, first it was Pokemon Sun and Moon, so that we could trade the exclusive characters back and forth. And now we're playing Pokemon X and Y. And I have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire coming next week. And we've been playing Pokemon and trading and talking about Pokemon. And my wife is super alienated because she's not playing Pokemon. And we won't shut up about it. But it's been this great shared thing with him. He's a 16-year-old. You have to work really hard to find things that we can both enjoy at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's been really kind of delightful. And of course, because I'm me, I made spreadsheets so I can track which Pokemon I have and when they evolve and which ones I need and which ones I don't have, because I don't know how to make things not into a spreadsheet. So I've been spending a lot of time playing Pokemon and managing my Pokemon and trading with my son. And that's been really fun last few weeks.
I love that. So where can everyone find you and your games and buy your games or follow you?
Yes, please buy my games. newmillindustries.com is the website, and it just takes you right to the store. And I think we currently have 20 trick-taking and climbing shedding games available. And they're all amazing, and you should buy them all. And then you can find me on Blue Sky at DNLNWMN. That's just my name without vowels, where I post about mostly going to the movies and, occasionally game stuff.
Uh-huh.
And if you're interested in what's coming from New Mill, there is a link on the store page up at the top for contact that'll send you to a form where you can sign up for our mailing list. And I really only send stuff out like once or twice a month, and it's typically like announcements on new games that are coming. Because I do everything via pre-order. I don't do Kickstarters or anything like that. So that's the best way to find out about new games coming out, to sign up for the mailing list.
I want to say thank you so much for spending your time to join me
this
today.
has been great.
It's been lovely talking. I want to talk trick-taking all day.
Hey, I'm always up
Eventually
for it.
we'll get to play together,
Yeah, for sure. No, this has been super fun. Thanks again for having me on.
You're very welcome. You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Amanda Wong. Be sure to visit us at the web at boardgamegeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under Board Game Geek, and Twitch under Board Game Geek TV. You can reach us via email, via podcast at boardgamegeek.com. Thanks for listening and happy gaming.